Hey everyone, it's Desiree. We are going to make a fall card featuring the Scrappy Tails Harvest Blessing A7 cover plate and going to use her wonderful 6x6 double-sided paper pad called Harvest Blessings. Most of you have heard me say it before that we can let our pattern paper do the work for us. It has everything that we need. It has a print. It has a design. That design creates texture as well. Texture doesn't have to be something that you physically feel, but rather something that you see. I'm going to be making a 5x7 card. So I've cut a panel of some cardstock and I've cut some strips. Did not measure these strips. I know the one side is six inches. They could be an inch, they could be a half an inch, they could be 3/4 of an inch. Whatever you want them to be, you can make your strips that size. I'm going to put them on an angle and I'm making sure that they go all the way across. So you can see I have the point of the pattern paper hitting the edge of this panel because this is a 5x7 panel and I'm just lining them up, putting them in some type of arrangement. Now I'm working on a small silicone mat here so my glue does not get all over my my work surface, and I'm just covering up that panel. Yes, it is a color panel. But you could use, as you can see, any color of paper that you have. You could even use a piece of copier paper to do this. I wanted some thickness when I prop this onto my card base. Now that I have this covered, I'm going to real quick clean off my silicone mat. And I find this so satisfying to bring in my long shears and just trim around this panel. I don't know why. It's like right up there with tearing paper. Yes. But there's just something about that. And when I cut that, now I have pattern paper that I used and I've created my own pattern paper background with that. It's also a great way to use scraps. Now you can see my A7 cover plate, the Harvest Blessings, is just a little bit smaller. So I measured that and I'm going to cut a piece of vellum. This is wonderfully bright and vibrant paper. And you saw when I put that cover plate on top, it kind of got lost. You really couldn't see it. By cutting a piece of vellum for the cover plate size, it pushes back the pattern paper so that the die, the cover plate die, can shine. It can actually come through. But you do still also see the pattern paper coming through it. And with this cover plate, and because I have that little tiny edge, the pattern paper background that we created is going to create just a small border. So I'm just going to put glue around the edge, and you can see now it's absolutely visible. I dug into my scrap cardstock and I had a ball die cutting. So I die cutted the section of the pumpkins down below with some orange. And I'm going to come in with some vintage photo and just add a little bit of shading to each of the ends. And I'm going to do some paper piecing with the pumpkins. Now you could use different colors. You could use your metallics. You could use your mirror cardstock, whatever it is. Now it's funny, as I'm putting this together, I had all my little tiny pieces and my little tiny plastic Jello cups because I love Jello. And I keep those little cups because they are perfect to hold small die cuts so we don't lose them. Somehow I lost one. You know, it just always happens. So you'll see that as we put all of these together here, that we just have to real quick die cut another piece. Because this is where I'm realizing I can't find that piece. It's the fun of creating, right? So by adding those and adding a little bit of ink to them, kind of gives them that dimension, makes them look a little puffy when they're not, because everything is nothing's being propped up with any foam tape or anything like that. Here comes that piece that we die cut. And then she also provides with this die the small leaves and acorns that are sitting around the cover plate. So you can add another color. I'm just adding a little bit of the vintage photo on top of those acorns just to give them a little difference in color. Vintage photo for me is definitely a staple. Must have it. It goes with any colors. I know not everybody agrees with that, but it looks wonderful on pinks. It looks wonderful on aquas because it tones them down. And it does provide that vintage feel to those colors. But when it comes to colors like this, vintage photo adds that shading element. It makes that image come to life. You don't have to do this step. You can skip that step because solid cardstock is gorgeous on its own. This for me just added a little bit more. Again, we're still not using excuse me, any foam tape or any dimensional adhesive. We are just having fun layering our pieces. I'm adding some of these little die cuts to areas where they're not already there. And just creating these beautiful layers with purples and reds and oranges and greens and purples. I do love purples for the fall. And just having fun accenting these pieces here and adding just a little bit coming off that one above the G. So this was a really fun die, and you can do so much with it. You can prop it up by adding dimensions underneath those pumpkin pieces. You would add a little bit more dimension to it, which would make it look great. You could curve those pieces to make it even look more puffy. So again, lots you can do. I'm even adding some leaves and acorns to areas where there's not already a leaf die cut there, just to add even more interest and more die cuts, because we can't have enough die cuts, right? Going to attach this to my 5x7 card base using double-sided adhesive. I'm going to remove the release paper and then get that adhered. Again, this is a 5x7 card. And then I'm going to pull in her yellow or goldish yellow pearls that were in her kit, and just adding those around as well. But you can see that border just comes from around that cover plate, still vibrant. You can still see the patterns through the vellum. So vellum is a great way to still use those pattern papers that we all love, but it'll just push it back so that our focal point, in this case the cover plate die, comes shining through. I hope you enjoyed today's project, and all the products that I did use will be listed down below in the video description. And if you have any questions, make sure you reach out and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Enjoy your day. Have fun creating your art. That is what you are doing. I will say it until I'm blue in the face at the end of every video. And what I will also say to each and every one of you, remember what's always important for me. Always. Be creative, guys, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Till then.